Welcome back to PFT Live, NBC Sports Radio from the league meetings in Arizona. And the big news in the National Football League involves New England Patriots, the decision of Rob Gronkowski to walk away from the game after 9 seasons. Who better to help us understand how we got here and where the team goes from here than somebody other than Tom Curran? But Tom is all we could get. Tom Curran, NBCSportsBoston.com here with us. Tom, great seeing you as always.
Great to be here, Mike.
Corporate cousin. NBC synergy.
Great synergy.
This is the way it works, man. It's synergy, baby.
Yeah, quid pro quo, back scratch, and you name it.
Just don't ask me for anything. So what happened to cause Rob Gronkowski to retire?
That's fascinating to me because of the timing. You know, Gronk was of a mind that he was going to take his time and figure out what was going on. My understanding was he wasn't going to rush things. The Patriots didn't rush to make things easy for him over the past few years. He was going to take his time. Well, the Patriots wanted to know at the beginning of free agency. What's interesting about the timing is earlier on Sunday, Mike Reese put out a report that Jared Cook, tight end from the Raiders, was leaning towards signing with the Saints because he just didn't know what was up with the Patriots and Rob Gronkowski. So it was starting to impact their free agent shopping to a degree, this uncertainty with Rob. So I wonder if the Patriots said to him, look, you got to poop or get off the pot here. We're not going to sit here and have our team held hostage by you, which in my mind, he had a great opportunity if he did hold them hostage to increase his leverage and change his contract from $9 million to 12, 13, 14, more in line with impact players. He chose not to do that. Did he choose not to do that because he wanted to leave it on good terms? Did he choose not to do that because, as Willie McGinnis broached a few weeks ago, he might come back later in the season? I don't think that that's the most ludicrous idea I've ever heard, to take off this time and then come back a la Jason Witten, a la any number of players who don't retire.
Well, and it's funny, Tom, the way you were laying that out, it reminded me of when the Packers gave that same request to Brett Favre in 2008 in February, and I think it was calculated to provoke from him a retirement decision. But if Gronk decides at some point to come back, he just shows up, he's reinstated, and they have to decide what they're going to do with him. And it's one thing to say he'll come back later in the year at a time when maybe the Patriots want him. What if they do move on? What if they do have a plan that they implement and he decides to show up when they don't want him? That may be a way to engineer your exit to another team, not that he's ever shown any inclination to want it.
Great question. I think what we have to do then is pivot to the football conversation. They're screwed. They're in a horrible position right now. And I'm sure there's people in New England who said, oh, yeah, Tom, you said the same thing last year, and they hoisted a Super Bowl trophy and you had another parade. Fine. But right now, Julian Edelman is the only guy you could say is somebody you want to put stock in. Philip Dorsett's a nice third or fourth receiver, maybe. They signed Bruce Ellington and Maurice Harris. Offensively, they have Sony Michel. That's nice. Good. Okay, you got a running game and you can block, and you still have Tom Brady, but you're also missing the left tackle from last year. Rob Gronkowski was everything upon which that offense pivoted, along with Julian Edelman. Now you have a 33-year-old slot, a 42-year-old quarterback. What's the plan? I don't know.
But they had to know this could be coming, so there has to be some semblance of a plan. I mean, well, the thinking is that maybe they'll replace him in the draft. I think maybe you could try to find a veteran somewhere and also draft somebody.
I know, but I've looked through it because this has been a shoe that's been waiting to drop. There's nothing really there. And I think this is where the Patriots take advantage of the success and ability of Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady to an extent that is mind-boggling. That you're going to go into a season in 2017 with Cordero Patterson, Philip Dorsett, and Chris Hogan as your wide receivers, and Rob Gronkowski as your running back, with Jeremy Hill, who got hurt, and Sony Michel as your running backs, and say, you'll figure it out. They did figure it out. It's astonishing.
Do you see the Patriots looking at the rosters out there and maybe trying to find somebody that they could trade for?
100%, but I've thought that would be a receiver situation. Your Nelson Aguilar's, maybe even an A.J. Green, but less likely a Sterling Shepard, those kinds of the players at the wide receiver
Not a
position.
tight end.
Not that I've started kicking rocks over yet, because
Travis Kelce.
I was a big, wow, well, it's a lot of money going out, but if you lose Tyreek Hill, you can't be bringing Tyreek.
What about Kyle Rudolph? I'm just thinking
Rudolph.
pass-catching tight ends, guys that are out there that maybe the team would like to clear their salary cap number off the books.
Jared Cook is still not, and, you know, this could come to pass at some point on Monday that he does become official, but Jared Cook's still not official. So if Gronk and his
or it could happen before Monday morning, making this entire segment irrelevant. So thank you for going down that path.
Yeah, but I really weighed I put it through my head. I put it through the filter. I said, what's the worst that could happen?
You need to thicken your filter. Let me peel back the curtain here. We've already done this interview once today before Rob Gronkowski retired. But regardless, I think it's fair for us to say that as of the time we're having this conversation on Sunday afternoon, West Coast time, there is a chance that Jared Cook could sign his contract finally with the New Orleans Saints. If he does not, the Patriots could swoop in and try to take him. And maybe that's why Cook hasn't signed it.
Precisely. And that's why I hedged my bets, figuring it was about a 17% chance that between now and then he would sign.
Okay. So you think they'll be okay?
No.
But they always find a way to be okay. They always have a plan, Tom.
What's that thing that they say about financial investments? Previous whatever is no indication of future returns.
Yeah. Past performance, no indication.
Right.
Past is prologue. Bill Polian.
Look, this past year was a difficult year for them. Now, maybe Josh Gordon comes back, and he's absolute straight arrow Boy Scout. He looks like he did in 2013. And they find a great tight. They get Irv Smith from Alabama. And Isaiah Wynn goes to left tackle and plays great. I didn't think Trent Brown was going to be a good left tackle last year. Voila. So all those things can happen. I just know when you take what I think could be argued as the best tight end of all time, and if you put up Mackey and Ditka and Kellen Winslow and Antonio Gates and Tony Gonzalez, none of them, I think, is better than Gronk, and certainly none of them has been a better big game player than Gronk. You take that player off your offense, both as a blocker and a pass catcher, that friggin' hurts.
But what did he didn't do much last year in the regular season. He really didn't. It was his worst year.
Do you know why? Because they didn't have anybody to start the season. So we got triple team for 4 games at the beginning of the year. He's caught 7 for 123 in the first game. He got his body beat up. Everybody blamed him all season long for them sucking. And then by the time his body did feel better and he finally said, you know what, I'm really getting hosed here. That was a big problem mentally. He felt as if he was getting hosed. He didn't have time to heal during the week. Dwayne Allen and Jacob Hollister were the only guys at tight end behind him, so there was nobody else taking the reps. So it's like, Gronk, you practicing today? Gronk, we need you to practice today. And he's like, I can't do it anymore. Finally, he got his brain around it and stopped being miserable. But he had a very miserable season. He's been miserable since 2016 when the Patriots picked up the back end of his contract. And he tweeted at that time, it was Dwayne Allen's contract he signed with the Colts. And Gronk said, wow, looks like I'm actually taking a pay cut. So since March of 2016 to now, he's felt underpaid. This kind of was hitting critical mass.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.